In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to replace the Human Touch Sauna backrest actuator. First thing we're going to do is power off the chair and unplug it. Next, we're going to gently tip the chair onto its right-hand side. Next, we're going to locate the backrest actuator connectors, which are enclosed in black casing there. So first we're going to, there's a zip tie there that secures that casing to the chair frame, so we'll use a wire cutter to cut that zip tie. And then we're going to use a scissors to cut the casing neatly, because we're going to rewrap these connectors after we replace the backrest actuator. So just cut the casing neatly off of there, then remove it, and then disconnect the connectors. The actuator is secured to the chair on each end by a 6mm Allen screw and a nut. So we're going to use pliers to hold the nut on the top of the screw and use a 6mm Allen wrench to remove the screw. Okay, now we need to do the same thing on the other end. And we can remove the actuator enough to expose the ground wire connection. Then we'll use a Phillips head screwdriver to detach the ground wire from the motor. And finally, we'll use a wire cutter to cut the zip tie that secures the ground wire to the motor. Before discarding the old actuator, we need to remove the two plastic washers at the end of the shaft, as we'll need those for reinstalling the new actuator. Before installing the new actuator, we're actually going to remove the section of ground wire that is attached to it. So first we need to take a wire cutter and cut the zip tie that secures the ground wire to the motor. And then we're going to use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the ground wire from the motor. Instead, we'll be attaching the ground wire that's coming from the chair. Okay, so you can discard that section of ground wire. Next, we need to secure the ground wire coming from the chair to the motor in the same location where we removed that ground wire segment previously. So, align the loop at the end of the ground wire with that mounting point and replace the screw to secure it. Okay, once that's nice and tight, we need to reinstall those plastic washers at the end of the shaft. And then we're going to place the actuator into position, aligning both mounting points, just to hold it in place while we reinstall the Allen screws and nuts. Now we just installed that insert. Normally your inserts will be installed in here and it'll be secured by a zip tie. Same with the other end. So that holds the actuator in place, so we can return to the end of the shaft then and install the Allen screw from the bottom up through the washer, through the shaft, through the other washer and the bracket, and reinstall the nut to secure it. And we'll just hand tighten that at this point. And we'll do the same at the other end. And you'll want to use a wire cutter to remove the zip ties that secured those inserts. Actually, you needed to remove those wires that secured those inserts before you installed those Allen screws, but I'm sure you figured that out by now. So next we need to tighten those screws using the wrench again to hold the nut and the 6mm Allen wrench to tighten the screw. Then we're ready to connect the actuator connectors. Next, we're going to wrap those connectors with the casing that we removed previously. And then we're going to zip tie the end closest to us to secure it at that end. And then we're going to secure it at the other end of the chair frame. But first, you can see there's a tail left from the previous zip tie. So we need to remove that and get that out of our way before we can secure the other end of this casing to the chair frame where it was previously. So you can thread that zip tie through the same hole the other zip tie used. Like so. Next, we're going to secure several cables here to the actuator motor. There's the larger actuator harness, the smaller black cable, and the ground wire. So simply use a zip tie to secure all of those right there to the motor. And kind of pull up on the slack on that actuator harness so that the slack is over here. And cut the remaining zip tie. Next, we're ready to return the chair to the upright position. Plug it in, power it on, and confirm that the backrest actuator is working.